let me make some announcements before regarding Power Partners that, our Meals of Love event that we had on November 3rd, it was an in-person meeting followed by dinner for about 50 families at the Ronald McDonald House, went very well. I thank you for your sponsorship, Vince. Arlene and Charles from CMC were instrumental in helping us pull that off. Our cook, our caterer, Yvonne, who said she would be on here today, was also very instrumental in doing that. So we got a lot of good feedback from the event, and we're very happy that it came out as it did. We would like to have another in-person event soon, but I don't have any details on that, but I'll get back with everybody on that. I wanted to get right into our introduction to Vin Doan, who's an estate attorney. Let me see here. Vin Doan from Vin Doan Law, right? He's our newest Power Partner US member. Vin has more than 12 years experience in estate planning, tax, probate, and business law. So Vin, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll ask you a few questions, okay?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so happy to be here. I know that there's some communication back and forth, but it's great to be able to be here and see some of you, some of the members, at least over the camera. So a little bit of myself. I am an attorney in Garden Grove, located in Garden Grove, but we do estate planning all over the state and as well as Texas because I am also licensed in Texas. So we do everything remotely, and we actually sent a notary to their home, to the client's home to notarize. And I will get online and give instruction for the client where to sign. So it's not just a physical location, it's actually remotely as well. Okay. So I do have 12 year experience. I have, before being an attorney, I have a finance background. Essentially worked in finance for a while before going to law school. I actually got a master in investment management and worked for a bank for a while. And then later on found out that it's not something for me. Decided to go to law school, finish law school, specialize in tax law afterward as well. So I do get an LLM, which is a master in tax law. After that, I joined a company and working for a company for about 4 years and a half until the company moved their corporate headquarters, where they're driving a little bit too much for me, decided to, in 2000, decided to go and start my own firm. And technically, I've been working as an attorney for 12 years, but officially on my own since 2000, which is roughly about 5 years or so. But luckily, with the client's trust, our firm has been expanding rapidly and mostly through referral, not just I don't do advertisement. I recently did a quick advertisement, but it was for personal injury because about 3 or 4 months ago, I take on a personal injury. So that's when I did a quick advertisement. But for estate planning purposes, I have not done any advertisement. Everything's through referral. So I appreciate all the clients' trust, etc. And I'm glad to be here as well.
Okay, great. So in our business model with Power Partners, we're going for quality referrals. Power Partners meaning those businesses that can give you repeat referral business and making those introductions for you. Valerie Condon, for instance, is a realtor here online, just as a quick, easy example of a Power Partner connection that could easily be made between you two for repeat business. Who else gives you repeat business? I know you say you don't do advertising, but referrals obviously is from professionals and families that you've served, right?
Yes. Many of my referrals coming from professional partnership as well, realtors, insurance agencies, etc. Those are my primary source of referral. Majority of my clients coming from prior clients. So they have a good experience with my firm, with myself, and then they go back and get the referral to family members, their friends, etc.
So realtors, insurance agents, anybody else like in accounting, CPAs?
Yes, that's that. CPA got quite a bit of referral from CPA, accounting firms, etc. as well.
Okay. And we have more members than can actually make a monthly meeting sometimes. So it's good to know this. So, part of what we do is educate other people about your business. So
Mhm.
besides estate planning, it seems like you do more. It's like new to me that you're doing personal injury. I didn't know that based on your history. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you also talk about, business attorney. What does that involve? Like,
So business usually is more on the corporate formation, company's formation. They need advice on whether I should create an LLC, a corporation, etc. So I assist them with that. If they were to purchase a business or they need a contract reviewed or negotiation between the businesses or the landlord or the tenants, etc., then I could jump in and assist. So those are in terms of litigation aspect of it, I don't have the bandwidth right now to do litigation, just assisting in the transactional portion of it.
so you would review the contract.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So I think, I did, part of my job is to understand when people has a need. I think I introduced you to Vince, who's on this call in an email about Vince maybe possibly needing, I wasn't quite sure what he meant about needing a estate planner for his personal, but also business contracts is an area that like I don't mislead. So it's like, okay, talk to Vin. He's brand new, but I don't even know him really yet. So I know him through Beatrice, who's talked really highly about him. But one of the things that I forgot I was going to say, so business attorney, business, like anything else besides those areas of concentration? Because I wanted to ask you to talk about your educational formats.
Yes, right now I'm trying to focus mainly on estate planning and then the business asset of tax. Actually, I do have a background, especially in tax law, but I'm trying to not take those on as much as I like to be because I'm completely in terms of focus right now is trying to focus on estate planning and business portion of it. In terms of personal injury, I do have a case manager where that individual is helping me with that portion. I oversee, make sure everything's done right, but that person is the one that's my main contact for personal injury.
Okay. And then can you explain the educational aspects of your business? And if you don't mind, are you comfortable talking about costs for like estate planning?
Sure, of course. I don't mind at all. So, additional aspect of it is that I do provide presentation, education to any members or anywhere that need it to be done. So one of the aspect of to pass on my knowledge and present it to the public is that I would go and do presentation anywhere that's needed. So if you have a group of clients or individuals that like to learn more about this aspect, I can go in and do a presentation tailor to your particular business. For example, if you're a realtor, I do presentation tailored to just a realtor aspect of the business, real estate. And if you are an insurance agent, I can go in and do a presentation tailored to insurance aspect of the business. Okay.
What
So
about
that's
financial planning?
financial planning. I haven't done a presentation geared to financial planning just yet. Generally, it's just more like a general estate planning for estate planning, just a general presentation and such. But I haven't done particularly tailored to financial planning, but
I,
it could become.
I guess what I'm saying is that one of our members is a financial planner who does presentations, and would your estate plan presentation jive with that?
Of course, yeah. That financial planning is more on the financial aspect of it, managing over the financial aspect of it. And estate planning is part of that financial aspect as well. It's just you have done everything you can for the investment portion of it. You want a preservation of it, and estate planning is part of the preservation process.
Okay, give me one second. I want to welcome Miguel Bravo in. Miguel, how you doing? This has been done where he's been talking. I have it recorded what we've been talking about, but I have it recorded. But just wanted to introduce Miguel to Vin as he's a banking manager at Comerica Bank. soon fifth third, soon to be.
Yeah.
So Miguel, we're just going over his background and everything. But
Okay.
so we covered a lot. Anybody have questions for Vin?
No. Yeah, Ben, you talked about business formations. You help startups create their necessary corporate documents.
I do, I do. So that is one of that's my specialty as well in terms of corporate formation. I do provide consultation to see which format is correct for the client, especially when in estate planning, I have a lot of questions regarding that. Hey, I want to do a trust, but I have all these investment properties, all these businesses, and I want to transfer these businesses or these properties first into an LLCs or corporation before put into the trust to get that limited liability protection. And that's one of the key aspects as well. It's not just simply to transfer the property or the real estate into the LLC, because once you don't do it right, you sever the community property and the actual ownership of the property, and you lose out on the step up basis. So when a person transfer property into the LLC first and then put into the trust, if you not do it right, it severed that community property and you lose out the step up basis. So yeah, this is one of the process where I advise a client whether it's good for them to even do an LLC or corporation. If it's just a simple business, etc., then yeah. So obviously, if you have a business where you have a restaurant or some sort of other businesses have an LLC corporation, etc., depends on the format that you like in terms of tax structure. It's whatever best structure for you. But if you have an LLC, if you have an investment property, real estate, etc., then it get a little bit sensitive.
Okay, that's good to know. How about bankruptcies?
I don't do bankruptcy. That's a different aspect of the area of law. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Forsyth, he must be running late because he's a bankruptcy attorney that we wanted to introduce you to as well, Vin.
Oh, wonderful.
Right, Jim?
That's where I was going.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll let you finish all of my questions if you want that one.
I'm gonna step all over your questions, all right? Anything else, Jim?
No.
Alan?
No, except yeah, Ben, I'm looking forward to when you and I can do a one-on-one. I'm on the people insurance side. And you know, I think we've got some opportunities to do estate planning work for some of my clients.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Glad to be.
Yeah, yeah. So let me see here. Any other questions? Because Scott Swanson, who is our other new member, came in, but because we also want Scott and Vin to listen to who's on this call so they can understand who's in our network, the expertise we have. Any other questions for Vin? Valerie, do you have anything?
I don't at this point, and I'll be reaching out to Vin when he gets back from Vietnam so we can get together and talk. I stress with all of my clients that they need a trust, that they need to preserve the generational wealth that they have created. And so I'm always in need of that kind of service, as well as some of the charitable work I do. I like to bring trust attorney to the financials class that I host so people understand the need for that, again, kind of protection.
And Vin, can you talk about your costs? Because I'm sure Miguel would like to hear that. He has, as a banker, he has potential referrals for you.
Sure. So yeah, so the cost is it's very reasonable in terms of the level of service that we bring to the client. Generally, the entire package, including the trust, the power of attorney, health correct, the pour over will, HIPAA document, dementia, and then the final disposition, etc. All those, including the notary, including the recording service with the county, etc. So essentially, the full package service to the client. And if that client's, let's say, in Orange County, so just to give an example, if you're multiple properties, of course, it's going to increase the cost because additional deeds must be done, additional recording services must be done, and county fees, etc. So hypothetically, if you had an individual, one person in Orange County, one property, total package, it's roughly about about $1,400. Okay. If you are a couple in Orange County, one property, full service, is roughly about 1550, roughly.
I didn't hear the end of that. How many zeros were at the end of the 50?
50.
50. 1550. That is a couple, full package. So just come and sign. Okay.
How's it
Everything
change?
else is
How's
being
it
taken care
change?
of.
How does that change for Orange County? Excuse me, LA County. You mentioned Orange County. How does it change, if at all, for LA County?
Okay. LA County, the recording service increases. Anything outside Orange County, the recording service will increase about $50.
Okay, thank you.
So it's just the additional cost of the recording in LA.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Any county that is outside Orange County will be an additional $50. That's it. For the recording service, for the fee for the service going to county and get it recorded.
Great, great. Any other questions for Vin?
When will you be back in the States, Vin?
Actually, Friday. I am leaving this Friday. The reason I'm in Vietnam is I'm developing this software for my service. So I hired a team here in Vietnam the developers to do this for me. So that's why I'm here for about 2 weeks to work with them closely to get it done.
Interesting. Okay, well,
I have
then
one question before we move on.
Go get
I
Candace.
was like, oh, I thought of something. Been definitely going to get in touch with you, but I did have a question as far, and I haven't looked into this at all. I'm helping my mom look into something like this. Are you able to also, or do you provide services with property outside of the US as well?
I don't, and I usually don't recommend that because a U.S. trust can only control everything inside its borders. Anything
So she would
outside the
have to have
border,
two different ones.
yeah, so it depends on the law of that particular country that the property's in. If that country allows your mom to set up a trust as well, then yes, absolutely do a trust in that particular country. If many times that country does not allow trust, they don't even know what trust is. In that case, then they will allow some sort of will structure. Okay, then do something with that particular country. Hire an attorney, seek out an attorney in that particular country, and follow that country procedure. It's very difficult for foreign property to go into a U.S. trust, and I generally don't recommend it. Usually, if that property, even if you be able to place into U.S. trust after your mom passed away, that U.S. trust must be petitioned to that country's law. And sometimes there's a lot of red tapes. Okay, for example, if I have a clients have a lot of properties in Vietnam, and then they want to create a trust in the U.S. and then put the property in Vietnam in the U.S. trust. If that were to be the case, that U.S. trust now have to petition in Vietnam after the person passed away to follow the U.S. law structure. Okay, and that means that trust had to be petitioned with court here in Vietnam, and that's a lot of red tape. Sometimes it costs more than it should if that particular client were to have a will in Vietnam itself.
Okay, thank you. But definitely I'll be reaching out to you. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. Just as a reminder, everybody, our meeting goes to 12:15. But we have plenty of time to get to everybody. Thank you, Vin. I think working with Beatrice, we want to eventually have some kind of seminar. I think you have seminar space in Orange County, Beatrice, that we can do something related to Power Partners and education and some sort of the other in the next year.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, great. And then one of the service I provide as well is that even though some clients, especially the one that does not have property and things like that, I do on an annual basis, 2 or 3 times a year, I will do free power attorney and healthcare directives seminars for individuals who do not have properties or assets and don't need a trust. But everybody needs power attorney and healthcare directive. In our particular field, whether you're a CPA, you're a realtor, or health insurance or insurance agent, etc., when a person became incapacitated, these documents are extremely important to have. So that's just one of the service, community service that I do free of charge for everybody 2 or 3 times a year. And I will ensure that once this is being held, I will ensure to ask Beatrice for help to reach out to all our members. And if you have any client that needs power attorney healthcare directive done free of charge, please have your client come to those sessions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, very informative. Welcome to the group, Vin. Glad that you joined us. I think you're in an area that we're looking to coordinate with a lot of our members. Let's see here. Scott, are you there? Did you make it from your last meeting?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let me introduce you as Scott Swanson, Vice President of Christian Charles Insurance Services. Scott brings more than 13 years of commercial insurance experience and works with A-rated carriers to secure tailored coverage for business owners, often within 48 hours. So we met Scott at our Meals of Love event with the Ronald McDonald House. He was a guest of Charles Chang. So Scott, kind of tell us what you do and what kind of insurance you provide, and we'll fire some questions at you as well.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the intro. Happy to join the team here. And I did meet a few of you a couple weeks ago. So yeah, basically we're a one-stop shop for insurance, all P&C related, property and casualty. I don't do any life and health. And to be honest, health insurance to me is like a foreign language sometimes. So yeah, if you're looking for that type of situation, I'm not your man. But in regards to anything P&C, you name it, we do it. You know, probably 90% of my book is commercial based. So anything from, small business owners to large business owners. Revenue is not a factor. There's nothing too high, nothing too low that we can't do. I'd say main focus areas that we do are anything related from contractors to transportation, commercial real estate, manufacturing, wholesale importation. We do it all from general lines of insurance, general liability, commercial property, workers' comp, commercial auto, professional lines, anything like EPLI, which is going to cover you for the harassment, wrongful terminations of your employees or third parties from that matter, to the directors and officers insurance, to the errors and omissions, all that type of stuff. So, lately just been doing a ton of transportation, contractors, and commercial property. The state of California specifically is interesting with top insurers leaving the state, as I'm sure some of you have heard, the state farms, all states, some of our direct carriers like Berkshire Hathaway Guard, Travelers, Hartford, Amtrak, they've really put strict guidelines on what they can write. And specifically, multifamily apartment complexes is what we're seeing a huge increase in our business as of the last year and a half, because those carriers have left the state. So, Charles Chang and I with CMC Realty, he's got a ton of properties that they manage, and all these landlord policies have to find coverage elsewhere because they have, State Farm's non-renewing and all that stuff. So we've been doing a lot of business with him, and that's how Charles and I really got connected. And then that's how I'm here. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what we do. And, there's usually, and we're commercial based. However, with the state of the market, like I mentioned, we've been seeing a lot more residential stuff come our way. So that's anything from, individual homes to rental homes. The personal auto is not really our thing. We have carriers for it, but if you need it, we're not going to be your farmer's agency type thing. We're not going to be your State Farm type of agency. That's not generally us. So we have it, we can do it. We're just probably not going to be that competitive when it comes to that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, Power Partners, we're a B2B introduction service. We, our model is to connect, hit home run connections by introducing you to professionals who can provide you repeat business. We have realtors, contractors on this call. Who tends to give you business in that regard? What categories of business?
Who tends to give me business?
Yeah, who do you tend, like Charles is an example, like a property manager. Who else might refer you business on a repeat basis?
So I get referral business from, not really lenders. A ton of property management companies refer us a lot of business. Lately, just like I said, in the last year and a half, because they're finding that they don't have brokers that can help their clientele. I mean, we have lawyers come to us, you know, with anything related to their own individual firm that they need insured, or, you know, clientele that they have. I refer actually a lot of people to, you know, a lot of my clients, depending on what they need, I'll refer them to lawyers. So that's a big thing for me that I refer to. I do refer, you know, Charles, I've referred a lot of business to in regards to clients of mine that need good property managers. So, you know, those type of situations come around. When I deal with contractors, I'll handle a contract. Let's say it's an HVAC company, you know, and they're doing multifamily, 500 units and more. Then he's got an electrician that needs help with his insurance, and they're just not understanding what their coverages are, why they're paying so much money, and then that just turns into a referral. So it's really, my business is just kind of referral based now from my clientele, just hearing about me and referring me to someone else. So I'm not really doing the much cold calling these days. That was at the beginning stages of my career, and fortunately I don't have to do a lot of that these days. So it kind of just comes, you know, word of mouth, and, you know, how I pretty much, my business, sometimes the insureds don't understand what they're paying for, why they're paying so much. They might have gotten a cold call from a random broker like I used to do, and now that broker is just not capable to handle them anymore because they've grown too big, and they don't have the type of carriers that we do that can really specialize in, you know, maintaining their policy, making sure there's no gaps in coverage. Because the bigger these clients get, the more exposure they have. So that's something that we really take initiative in, and really break down people's policies and let them know what they're covered for and what they're not covered for. That's a big thing. I mean, a perfect example is a contractor who's doing plumbing, and they're doing maintenance plumbing on multifamilies or, you know, servicing, but then they're going to get into new construction builds, and their policy excludes new construction. They had no idea about it, you know? So that's something that we take into consideration. We look at it. I'm like, here's another option for you. It's slightly more money, but you have more exposure, type stuff like that. So we really break down the insurance policies. We read through them. We read through these things every day. It's not your job as a client to read through them. You know, you can do it. You can see your exclusions, but that's part of our job. You know what I mean? To really educate the insured on what they're actually paying for and what they're covered for.
You do compare pricing, right? Like if somebody has
Correct.
a policy, you would compare and see if
Yeah.
you get a better deal or better coverage.
Yeah. So just to give you a quick rundown of how we work is, like, you know, January 1st is a big, you know, renewal date for a lot of our clients. So I'm already 90 days out from the January 1st effective date, and I'm shopping all my clients' insurance, right? So if I have a transportation company that has $1.5 million in payroll and their workers' comp's coming up, I have that market completely reserved with all my carriers, and I'm basically finding the right quote, the right coverage. And I'm kind of like a realtor. I call myself a realtor with multiple offers on a home. You know what I mean? And I'm going to let that each carrier kind of fight against each other, and I'm going to find the best rate for the client, make sure they're with the best carrier as well, you know, who's going to have awesome loss control, who's going to have awesome claim handling, because that's a huge part of it too. You can get a really cheap rate, but then you have a claim and you're getting nothing but, you know, no help from the carrier, you're getting no help from the broker. You know, that's where we also step into and really hold the hand of the client. So yes, to answer your question, I'm providing my clients with at least 3 to 4 quotes per line of insurance for every renewal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? I have another question, but I want to open it up. Go ahead, Candace.
Yeah, I do have a question. I'm not sure if you already stated this, but do you work solely in California?
Yep.
Simply, I'm asking. Okay, perfect. Across all states?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, because I do have a client that has been acquiring and is still acquiring new, like, apartment complexes and things like that.
Mhm.
He's already done 2 within the past, I want to say, like 2, 3 months. So, and he has plans on getting many more. So I might be able to make a connection there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, we are licensed to insure anything within the United States. There are monopolistic states, like specific to like workers' comp, and there's like 5 or 6 of them that we just don't insure. You have to go through the state for those type
I
of.
know I know he's in Illinois, but he gets property there,
Right.
and I
Yeah, that's not a
cannot
problem.
remember the other state.
Yeah, so for property, like I'm quoting 5 properties in Texas right now. They're anything from multifamily to condominiums to industrial warehouse type of things, like distribution centers. We've done them in Florida, we've done them in New York, we've done them everywhere. So I have clients that are located here in California, headquartered, but then they're buying property as real estate investments across the country. So it's not a problem.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Scott, this is Vin. How are you?
Hey, Vin. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. So, part of my going back to Vietnam is I'm trying to create this, what is called online do-it-yourself software for very simple cases for estate planning for clients. And I do want to inquire about, I'm going to create a new company for this. And, in your expertise, do you think it's a good idea to obtain insurance and things like that? And if so, do you handle this type of thing?
For the like software that you're producing, that you're gonna manufacture, basically.
That's right.
Yeah, we can, like, we have like that's like in the tech industry, and that's usually going to be like a wholesale market that's probably going to look into that. But yeah, absolutely, it's not a problem. And when I say wholesale, it's usually a specialty carrier that's going to put this type of product together. But we do have options for you there.
Wonderful. All right. I would
Yeah,
love to touch base with you
yeah,
offline as well. Thank you.
for sure, absolutely.
Any other questions for Scott?
Yeah, I just have an observation. Scott and I are going to be meeting next week. We haven't picked out a time yet, but I think it's on Tuesday, isn't it, Scott?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on an email. Just an observation that Scott said. When people buy an insurance policy, whether it's a PC, a life disability, long-term care, it is really it's the agent's, the broker's responsibility to make sure that the coverage is right. Because when people get a policy, they get a 30,000-foot view. Okay, I've got property and casualty, and they feel good. But it's the broker that's responsible to make sure that that coverage is right, because people don't understand insurance and how important it is to understand what the fine print is. The expression for insurance is the big print giveth and the small print taketh away. And understanding what clients' needs are and make sure the contract is complete for their needs that's the responsibility of the insurance broker. Not to sell a policy just because it's going to turn a commission and they've got adequate coverage. It's got to be the right coverage for the right person at the right time. And I'm happy to hear about what Scott had to say about alluding to the same thing, that it's the broker's responsibility to make sure the coverage is right. Don't expect the client to understand what he's covered for.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and it's something that I want to echo on. That is a perfect example. Is I'm sure you've heard the horror stories of all these homes up in the Palisades and Altadena with the fires being completely underinsured, and these clients they're going to get a check from their insurance company, but they can't rebuild, and that's a big hassle. And that's due to the part that their broker just wasn't up to date on rebuild cost in the area. Mm-hmm. Alan, you and I spoke about this, I think last week, right? On rebuild cost for buildings. I talk about this with Charles all the time. What exactly can you get in the local area to rebuild an apartment complex or a home? And you want them in a lot of our models. When I'm entering a property, we have multiple models like CoreLogic and stuff like that are going to run a full replacement cost evaluation on the property itself. And that comes from year build, square footage, is it sprinklered, what type of construction, non-combustible, joist and masonry, stuff like that. And it's going to come with the most up-to-date model replacement cost estimate for the location. So that's another thing that we do our due diligence on, is really make sure that we're known in the area what the rebuild cost on a home is going to go. I mean, you can go build a home here in Naples, or on the water in Seal Beach, and it's a brand new construction. You're paying $700 to $1,000 per square foot for rebuild. But if you're going to build an apartment complex here in Long Beach somewhere, it's probably going to be minimum 300 rebuild. So it's just it's a complete difference, and you really have to be knowledgeable and understanding and do a lot of it to really have a comprehensive review of it. So that's definitely something that we constantly do on a daily basis. So
Scott, this is Vincent Tardo. I would highly recommend you share with the group the difference between actual cash value and replacement cost, because that's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a good question. Replacement cost, actual cash value could be anything from depreciation of like let's say you have a home or a building that's built in 1917, okay, and they're rating it off actual cash value. Well, you're going to get actual cash value of that type of building from that type of year. It's going to depreciate, right? But if you're doing a replacement cost of the building and it's 1.5 million, well, and let's just, there's also co-insurance involved, right? You have 80, 90, 100% co-insurance. So those can be, if you have 80%, well, you're going to get up to 80% of that replacement cost value in the event of a total loss. Okay, actual cash value is you're going to get actual cash value for what the actual home or building is. So replacement cost is always definitely what you want. Actual cash value tends to be a lot cheaper. Coverage is not as extensive. You're not going to get what you need for the property in the event of a total loss. So that if you have any other questions on that, that can be something that I can send a whole worksheet on if you want it. But when you're insuring a home or a property itself, commercial property, you always want replacement cost valuation because that's what you're going to get. You're going to be covered for the most of.
Yeah, and the actual cash value is a little misleading, so people don't quite understand that.
Right, exactly. And actual cash value, you're always going to get way less than what you think you're getting.
Thank you for letting them know that.
Okay.
I rarely ever write an actual cash value policy unless it's a very difficult property to write. Like I have one in Signal Hill that's like extremely difficult to write, and it's on an actual cash value because no one else will do it on a replacement cost, only because there's no updates to the building. Okay, they've made very little updates to try to improve the building's valuation. So therefore the carrier's like, well, this is just depreciated obviously, so we're gonna do actual cash value on it. And the insured understands that, and they're okay with it, but I have to disclose that when I'm writing it to them.
Right. It's a hard market right now too. So some people will do whatever they can to get insurance because they can't get their home mortgaged unless they have insurance coverage, and it's harder and harder to get insurance, like you said, because the bigger players are exiting out of California. So what do these people do?
Yep, exactly. And the biggest thing too, like mentioning the homeowners insurance earlier, a big part of California today is the brush, right? If you're in a brush zone, you're kind of uphill battle. Your carriers are limited. You always have carrier last resort, which is California Fair Plan, which is going to cover you for fire, wind, vandalism. And then you got to put a separate policy in place called a DIC, which is difference in conditions. And that's going to cover you for your water damage, your liability. There's going to be very sub limits of mold coverage in there. That's another thing that people don't understand. It's like, oh, I have a mold issue, let me get covered. It's like, okay, well, you only have $10,000, you have a $5,000 deductible. Like, what's going to cover here, So
Nothing.
A lot of people don't think they're completely covered when they're not, and that's another thing, like I was talking about earlier, is really digging into the policies. And before you even sell it to the insured, I always highlight things. I'm like, is this a problem for you? Are you concerned about this type of coverage? Water damage is another one, like, hey, there's a sublimit for water damage. You have a $1.5 million dwelling limit for your house, but you have a $250,000 sublimit for water damage. Is that concerning? So then if it is concerning, then you got to go find a different quote. They might pay some more in premium to be fully covered. So those are just the type of things that I always point out. Those are the differences between what we do and what some brokers just sell a policy to gain a commission,
Obviously very knowledgeable. Would you guys agree?
That's my impression.
Oh yeah.
both our newest members, and that kind of runs the gamut of all our members. We have a wealth of resources for you guys. We want Scott and Don to hear what the other people do.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Scott. Let me
Of course.
Let's get into some member speak introductions of our members. But when you do speak, if you have any referrals or introductions that you've given over the last month or received, let us know in your intro. So we'll speak to Vin and Scott here as to what we do. I don't know, Valerie took off there. She disappeared. It's like I was going to go to her first, but let's start with Deborah.
Oh, hello, Deborah Armijo. Alan and I are iTrust Marketing together and Power Partners USA. I'm behind the scenes. I do the graphics, working with whether it's online or offline. Alan handles everything else. He deals with the clients and any software issues or, setting up ads, Google ads, things like that. you can see on Power Partners USA, I laid that whole website out. You can see the graphics on that. So if you want to see Scott, I have his new information up and his photo and all his information. Same with Ben. You can go there and look at that. Yeah. And then also updated the Ronald McDonald's House event. There's new photos. Thanks, Vince. You took a lot of photos that we used. So, but yeah, we manage and work on the on Broadway business corridor business district. And, it's just a lot of small storefronts, but going up and down the street, talking to the businesses, we added a off Broadway section. So I discovered a nursing facility and we referred that to Arlene. So that's one really good prospect for her, but you never know what you're going to find around the corner there. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know, Alan, do you want to add to the I Trust marketing? You can, if you really want to see our work too, you can visit our website, and we've got a lot of, the portfolios up there and what we do, and also our business strategy. And before I forget, Eldorado's having a business mixer, right?
Right, tonight.
Okay, so you can add that. So.
Well, I just want to add on behalf of Power Partners is that Deborah's created a brochure, and we are really actively handing that brochure out to people and pointing out, asking them what kind of businesses resources do you need? And they might say banking, they might say commercial real estate. We'll dig it out of them and use that to promote our members. If anybody has any experience or history with Sales Navigator, I've talked to Candace a little bit about that. I've been using that to fortunately Mark's not on here, set him up with an introductory meeting with somebody that I've found through Sales Navigator. But I want to, I'm just letting Power Partner members that we don't just meet, even though we meet once a month here, we're working for you the rest of the month. So, and these things take time, but we will get the leads, we will make the introductions, and then hopefully you guys follow up and can set your meetings and get business going, create those home run connections. So thank you, Deborah. I think we covered what we wanted to. Let's go to Jim Better.
This is about what I do. Okay, for Vin and for Scott, I'm in the safety net building business. There's not a person that I meet that I don't wonder about how well protected they are. People work hard their lives, they save money, they depend on their income, and they depend on safety when they get in their retirement age. And when I look at people, I wonder, okay, is their income protected? If they can't work tomorrow, they get an accident, they get sick, and they're laid up for 6 months, where's the income going to come from? That's what I look at. And I use the magic of insurance to solve these problems. And I look at people who have families and I wonder, okay, how much life insurance do they have in place to sustain their families, to pay the mortgage, to educate their children? Do they have sufficient coverage to protect them? Health insurance, I've got an agency back in Massachusetts that still pumps out employee benefit plans, which includes, do all of the necessary employee benefit insurance packages that are common. In California, when I moved here 6 years ago, I decided I would just brand myself as a long-term care insurance guy. And that's because I've got family experience. My mother burned through over $300,000 in long-term care expenses in the late 90s. And I said, holy, does anybody recognize that this risk factor for the money that you've spent your life earning is all going to go to a nursing home? So that's I've got a whole quiver full of arrows to help people build their safety nets. Again, my brand is long-term care, but surprisingly, when I start talking to people, I'm always looking to say, where else can I protect them? Where else do they need to have that safety net underneath them? And when I put a policy in place, I'm not thinking about, okay, the provisions and this and that. I'm thinking, what's it going to be like at claim time? Is this going to work for them? Are the provisions and the riders in the contract, like I was talking with Scott, he knows what he's doing, and he makes sure that the provisions are there, because when that client walks away, they think they're insured. And it's the broker, it's my responsibility to make sure that the bases that they need covered are fully prepared in the contracts that they have. Claim time, I've been doing this since Ronald Reagan was president. You may have read about him. And I've had lots of claims go through, and I see what it's like to have the right protections in place for whatever the needs are, whether it's life, whether it's income security, whether it's health insurance, whether it's long-term care. My joy is when people fill their void and have that safety net, because I see what happens when it is in place. I've also seen the disaster it creates when the coverages aren't there, because they say, oh no, I'm too young, it's too expensive. Whatever their excuses are, they don't do it. And then later on, something bad happens. And I feel bad because I didn't push hard enough. So that's where I look at it. I don't push, but I make sure people understand what their risk factors are by not having a complete safety net.
So, okay, let's go to Vince Tardo. Thank you, Jim. Let's go to Vince. Explain yourself to Scott and Vin.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our group, by the way, Scott and Vin. I already sent a text to Vin personally, but I ended up sending it on the whole chat so everybody sees it. And definitely believe in working with members who are current members versus people who are no longer current members. So that'll be going to you. And then Scott, I referred my wife to you for renewing our commercial lines insurance. So we'll see where that's at. It's always a big pain in the neck to have to send all the information you would need in order to give us a quote, but it's just part of the necessary evil of being a business owner when it comes to getting insurance. Yep. So I know a lot about being uninsured. I know a lot about people who have renters that don't have renters insurance, which is very inexpensive. And I've seen the pain of people not having any coverage to have their contents covered. And when they have a water damage, oddly enough, from a water heater, let's say that explodes, leaks, etc., all the damage to your goods when you have a rental is not the insurance. It's not the responsibility of the building owner. If it's mold, however, and you can tie mold into the conversation, then usually they'll be running scared because mold is very, let's say, gray area, and there are attorneys that will get involved and get the people to be paid to be dislocated, or excuse me, be relocated or displaced from their living residence. And I've seen upwards of $30,000 for something that would normally be about $5,000 or $6,000. So it's really important, as you both mentioned, is to be adequately or over-insured. And I personally don't like any insurance company. I work with them all day long, but I do truly believe that you should buy as much as you can possibly afford and make sure you have umbrella coverages and etc. With that aside, we specialize in working with people who have and don't have insurance. Obviously, the fees for insurance are the same as if you don't have insurance coverage, but we do have a conscience and we do try to help people financially when they don't have enough money to pay us to do the job right. There are other ways and workarounds to do things, but we're also very creative on how we can get them covered when they might not be covered if they happen to mention the M word, which is mold. You're right. The cap on mold is usually about 5,000. That's all they usually pay. So you don't normally want to mention the M word. You want to go after water damage because that's really what mold comes from, is usually some source of moisture. So call it what it is, water damage. Don't call it mold, but mold is a consequence of water. And typically we can handle all that under the non-clean water clause, or dirty water, which would be like gray water, black water, sewage, if you will. Oddly enough, people don't understand that clean water is covered one way, where you don't need to take walls and floors, ceilings down. You can normally dry in place, maybe take the baseboard off, drill some holes. But after 72 hours of dwell time, that clean water is no longer clean water. It's considered gray water. Gray water is considered non-clean water, which is the same as sewage. You're now having to remove those structural materials. And a lot of people don't understand that you need to do lead testing if it's pre-1978, built pre-1978. And asbestos testing is required no matter what year it was built. Even new construction requires asbestos testing. And a lot of people don't know that. And most insureds pay. Some insurance don't want to pay for asbestos testing, which is ironic, but that's just what we're up against. It's not so much the building material as much as is the topping mud, which is the joint compound when you do your seaming tape with drywall, where most of your asbestos concerns are, or old vinyl or linoleum floors that have layers of flooring, and each layer also has adhesive. Those are where you're going to find asbestos in those areas. Lead is not necessarily the paint, but it could also be in the tile. So if you're doing a demo of a bathroom, for example, or a countertop in a vanity or a kitchen countertop, there's testing for that as well. So just kind of bring that up as a side, because a lot of people don't know, or a lot of contractors don't tell people they're supposed to be doing this, and then they end up having a bigger problem with indoor air quality than they ever would with mold. And bacteria is by far worse than mold will ever be when it comes to the health. We just call it contaminants because we don't really know what they are unless we test for them. And if you don't test for them, then you can't really say you have them. So a lot of people say, do I have mold? I say you have suspect mold. What's the difference? Well, it could be or may not be. I don't know unless I have it analyzed through a third-party accredited lab, which is where all of our testing's done. And then we have a real accurate way of giving them analytical data that we can support. And also it helps to send that information to their insurance company, or in many cases, their neighbor upstairs that caused the water damage in the first place. A lot of insurance companies say that they're not covered, or they're not going to cover the loss because their insured was not found to be negligent. We've challenged that against State Farm, and we've won against State Farm in small claims court. Whether they are negligent or not, the water came from their unit and flooded out the units on either side. They need to be covered. So your neighbor, a lot of times may not be friendly, and you have to do things you might not necessarily want to have to do, but it's really good to document everything that happens in your home, whether you rent, whether you own, whether it's a condo, whether it's an apartment. Make sure you put everything in writing and document. As we say in our business, if it's not on paper, it's vapor, which means it never happened. And when it comes to getting paid by the insurance, they don't want to pay me a dime unless I can prove that I did everything I said I'm doing or did or have done. Just simply, it's not an argument you want to have because you're not going to win. And even when you're right, you don't win a lot of times with insurance. So just got to take the good with the bad and just go with the flow and try to help educate people. When it comes to a loss, your best friend may not be the insurance company. Your first call probably should not be your insurance company. You should probably call a contractor like myself that specializes in water, fire, smoke, sewage, vandalism, things of that nature. Because what you say can go a long way, and what you don't say is probably better. Less is more in our business. Again, nothing to do or nothing against anybody in our group because those are agents. It's the adjuster. I tell people it's the insurance adjuster. It's a completely different animal than the person that smiles and takes your money each month for you to have insurance that wants to see you get covered. The adjuster wants to see how much money they can save for the insurance company. Every dollar saved for the insurance company is a dollar less that you're going to receive. That's just how it works out. Aside from that, on a good note, if you have anybody that you know that has any kind of home improvement needs, from indoor air quality, mold, air duct cleaning, dryer vent cleaning, or simple like some window or draperies or window fabrics, upholstery, carpet cleaning, carpet repairing. Those are things we also do in relationship to water, fire, smoke. You don't have to have emergency service to use our services, but we are and do pride ourselves in having a 24-hour, 7-day emergency response with a live English-speaking operator, not an AI or a voicemail. And they will do a warm transfer to me personally or one of my service experts pretty much any time, night or day, any day of the week. So that should be reassuring to know, especially if you have property, that you can call somebody that's going to be able to put you in the right position, or at least start the process of getting you into a better position, which is getting everything clean and dry as fast as possible. Plumbing, on the other hand, everybody has plumbing.
Okay. Thank you, Vince. We'll come back around to any additional questions for you. I want to get to Candace and Miguel in our allotted time. Let me go to Candace.
Hello, welcome to Power Partners, Vin and Scott, and hello to everyone else. We're always in here, so that's good, right? So my name is Candace, and I run a digital marketing company, and we mainly focus on virtual assistant services. So we provide everything from our agents are custom to every placement. We don't have agents just waiting to be placed with the next client that we sign. We do everything from cold calling, appointment setting, lead generation, picture video editing, blog writing, project management, executive assistants, general admin, bookkeeping. Literally, the possibilities are endless. We have answering services for companies as well, so customer service. Literally, the possibilities are endless. We do try and keep our pricing between $12 to $15 an hour, depending on the job description. Obviously, with Power Partners, we try to give even, the best possible deal that we can, trying to keep it as close to that 12 as possible. And so, yeah, we provide everything based on your business needs. And yeah, we go from there.
Okay. Any questions for Candace?
Just want to give an endorsement for anybody who hasn't talked to Candace about the services they offer. Do it. They have great service programs. I've used them and it's a great effect.
Thank you,
Great.
Jim.
Right. We just lost Miguel. He had to go, but he's a banker. But so we have a little bit more time. The thing I had was with the sales navigator, Candace, if you can have somebody reach out to me as to how a VA would handle sales navigator, because it's a reaching out by messenger or directly to a contact on LinkedIn, apparently, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they would do. And if that's what you would be looking, I want to say, Jim, we use that with you as well, right? Sales
Yes, for
Navigator. Yeah,
sales navigator.
Jim did Sales Navigator. We got him a VA that was experienced in it. Me personally, you can ask me, and I will tell you, I don't know how to use it, but I know what it does. But again, the VAs that we do get for clients that are needing that service, we would make sure that the VAs are experienced in that. So yes, they can do it. We would make sure that they're able to like filter with whatever criteria it is that you want, right? So if you're looking for a specific business, if you're looking for a specific person within a business, like if you're only wanting to speak to the CEO, or if you're only wanting to speak to, the business owner, whatever the case may, whatever your criteria is, they can go ahead and filter that way and find the contact information for them.
Yeah, because in Power Partners, what we're doing is able to get a patent attorney in touch, or they're supposed to talk with Mark, the bankruptcy attorney, tomorrow, but all through Sales Navigator and through AI. And maybe it'll just as a reminder, Vin and Scott, I know you're in our tier 1, but when we have you on our tier 2 level, where we can do a podcast and get more information out of you, kind of really get in depth about what you do, using AI helps to make introductions more complete and specific. So that's how I was able to do it for Mark and this patent attorney, because I don't know, their businesses are complex, as are most businesses, with all the details and all the things like that Vince mentioned, and then Vin knows about, and Scott knows about. For me to make a quality introduction, I use AI to break down all that information, test it, make sure it's not hallucinating, and then send out a quality introduction. And it seems to be working. But I want to, I was telling you guys, I've been wanting to work with Candace on the list I have that I've been making my own cold calls on. The list is great, the script is great, but the people are really not that great. So I think they're maybe a little bit too new to business, or just not experienced enough in business. So I'm kind of switching that around to another list of people that are more experienced in business, in order to actually make our network more top end, expertise wise on the top end, and get known that way. Because I'm sure if any of you do a business deal, it could be substantial, especially if it's repeat. So that's what we're going to be going toward in the new year. So very high quality introductions, and quality over quantity. But we rely on the network to get to know each other as well, and use our podcasts, listen to the podcasts, come to our meetings, to get that information, to see that you do have that synergy to work together, and then go from there. So with that, if there's any last questions or clarifications on what we do, or have a question for anybody, let's do that.
Sorry to interrupt. I had a quick question for Vince. Vince, what is your territory that you guys, like, how far will you go for your type of work?
Our main service area is LA and Orange County, but specifically we'd want Southern LA and Northern Orange County if we had it our way.
Got it.
And
Got
we'll go San Bernardino Riverside if it's a large loss, like a water or fire, or even a mold job, but we wouldn't go out there for plumbing or for a carpet cleaning or a tile cleaning job.
Yeah, I have a client mold issue, and it's like Santa Barbara area, and it's probably a 6-figure job. So I don't know if you go up that far north, but they are getting a couple quotes, and I didn't know if, I could put them in touch with you, but I just didn't know if you went that far.
Yeah, we would entertain it, but most likely I would refer it to a network, someone else I
Okay.
work with closer in the geographic area to be able to give them a better price.
Well, what I'll do is I'll just put you in contact. I'll give him your contact information, and then you can just go from there. You know.
Yeah, wonderful. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Vin, for coming on, staying up so late to work with us today. Looking forward to seeing you back in town. Appreciate that very much. Thanks for coming on, Scott. We really wanted to feature you guys, get this ball rolling with our new members.